the Iran war, a conflict that was started a few months ago, the 28th of February, and when we look at it today, we've had a deal signed. I don't want to call it a deal because it's technically not. It's a memorandum of understanding. This is not Trump's version of the Iran nuclear deal by President Obama. We are not, we're not there yet. And we'll see if we do get there. Hopefully we do. But that's not this. What this is, it's like a temporary, it's a preliminary, it's a memorandum of understanding, right? It's not legally binding in any sense. It's not legally binding whatsoever, right? So we've got a few points laid out in this memorandum of understanding. It's very thin. I don't even think it's 3 pages, 3 full pages. It's about 2 and a bit pages. But we're going to have a look at that, right? So what does this memorandum of understanding include, right? What does it include? The first point is that there will be a ceasing of fire between the United States and Iran. Now, this is a 60-day ceasing of fire. I mean, it's nothing new. There was already, a ceasefire in place, really. So this isn't anything new. Yes, there was some bickering between the states, but it's nothing new. And this is what I'm trying to get to with this memorandum of understanding. It really isn't much new. If anything, all it does is just advantageous to the Iranians. They've just laid out points to the Iranians saying, look, we're going to give you $300 billion. That's a point in the memorandum of understanding. Who's going to pay for it? Nobody knows. And this is what I mean. It's not legally binding. It's an agreement which can be broken at any time. But they are claiming they're going to give the Iranians some reconstruction reparations in $300 billion paid for by perhaps the US, perhaps the Gulf countries, perhaps a mixture of both. But it's woolly, right? It's woolly. It's not concrete whatsoever. The concretized deal will come at the latest in 60 days, and that is if it does. And that's the memorandum of understanding. It's nothing new. It's not a deal. What else does it include? It includes a 60-day ceasefire clause. It includes $300 billion reparations. It includes $12 billion in frozen assets to be given back to the Iranians. It includes taking off the sanctions off Iranian oil. I mean, it includes. I mean, this is the only thing that's advantageous to the United States is that they are going to open up the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians are. Right, the US is saying open up the strait. The Iranians have said that we'll do that. The US lifts their blockade, but other than that, other than the fact that they get the strait back, everything else is benefiting the Iranians. I mean, it's literally embarrassing for the US. I'm sorry to say, I wouldn't say this if it weren't true. I'm not here to be a spokesman for the Iranians. I mean, I've got so many grievances with the state. But the reality here is that the US has been, it's turned into a laughingstock, with all respect. I quite like the US. I'm very interested in the US, the system there, but they have done a terrible job. This is perhaps the biggest fumble of, I don't even want to say Trump's political career. It's probably the biggest fumble of his entire life, including the bankruptcies, including all of his mistakes, including the marriages. It's quite literally the biggest fumble. And what's interesting about this, because we haven't got, a lot of time today, but what I definitely want to get into is the fact that, are we seeing a decoupling? Could this actually be worth it in the end? Could it be, could it be beneficial to not just the United States, but the globe, but the whole world as a whole, right? Because if you have been following any type of publication, the New York Times, for instance, you will have seen that many figures in the Trump administration, even outside the Trump administration, they're speaking back to Israel in a way that they haven't been doing the past few months, or really the past few years, the past few decades. They are saying, J.D. Vance is on a book tour at the moment. And he is quite literally telling the Israelis, calm down. He's telling them to calm down. He's saying, listen, right? He's saying, we're the boss. We're the people in charge. We're the people funding you. You're going to Lebanon. What are you doing there? Trump says, why are you knocking down an apartment block every 10, 15 seconds, right? I mean, there's not Hezbollah in the apartment block, so why are you knocking it down, right? Why are you killing 4,000 civilians in not even 3 months in Lebanon, which we're going to get to in a few minutes? And even Hillary Clinton, even outside of the administration, she's saying, look, I mean, I was pressured so much as Secretary of State by Benjamin Netanyahu, by the cabinet ministers in Israel. What we're seeing at the moment is potentially something groundbreaking, something I never thought I would see in my life, never mind my young years, right? And I hope, inshallah, this could be a breaking point. You know, they could press the US's buttons to such a point that the US says, we can't do this anymore, right? We can't do this anymore. You know, we're supposed to be the world superpower, the world police. And the reality, the fact of the matter is, the US and Israel are not comparable. The US is bad. You know, I completely agree. But they're not comparable in the sense that Israel is so much worse than the US. You know, they're so much worse. The US goes into Iran, does a 3-month conflict, kills civilians, I will give you that, and it's horrendous. Whether they're Shia, Sunni, I mean, 160 in a school, right? 120 schoolgirls, 40 teachers. This is diabolical, I'm sorry to say. But out of the whole 3 months, that is the biggest story, right? Whereas that's kind of like the daily activity for the IDF. So are you understanding what I'm saying here? What I'm saying is that, you know, the difference in evil between the US and Israel, I mean, they're so far apart. Could we see a decoupling? I think it's fair to say that Iran has blew the socks off the United States and Israel is seething as a result. I mean, they're not happy as a result of this. They're not happy with the Memorandum of Understanding, and they're going to try their levy best to stop negotiations, to halt negotiations, to not get a JCPOA type deal, even something similar to it, even if it's worse than that, right? Because the moment that Iranian sanctions, not just off oil, but Iranian sanctions as a whole is lifted off the country, and that 100% inflation rate that they're currently inflicted with on grocery prices comes down, you know, Iran has a massive potentiality to become, I mean, it's already, I mean, we saw what it can do militarily, you know. What can it do socially? What can it do economically? Could they build up a country that's actually, you know, a regional superpower in the Middle East? And if so, who's going to hate that the most? It's going to be Israel. Israel doesn't want competition. But we can't speak about this all day. If there's more breakthroughs, we're going to have a look at it. Iran has fundamentally won this war. And Israel is becoming unhinged. It was already unhinged. But Ben Gvir, Smotrich, Benjamin Netanyahu, they're becoming unhinged, right? And could that mean in a decoupling and a breakup between lovers, the US and Israel? Inshallah. May Allah make it so, because it'd be great if that was the case.